Hello. I have no idea if my earbuds are working, but the little one's downstairs and quite talkative. Oh, hey. How are you, Heather? Hey, Mark. Oh, there's so many fun people. Oh, cool. Thanks for letting me know. So we can chat about our intimacy retreat. We do have a Zoom event happening on Tuesday, but otherwise we have our retreat happening in 4 weeks. So it'll be in 4 weekends.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Hans.
I love your hair.
Oh, thanks. It's clean. Yeah. That's the secret.
Well, I wouldn't have been able to tell. I think the last couple of times you've been wearing a toque or something, so it's nice to see your hair. The way you had it flipped up there was kind of nice too.
It's not minus 30 anymore, so I don't have to wear a toque inside.
Yeah, we're in the plus zone here. So,
yeah.
Well, we got lots of people dropping in here. That's cool.
Yeah, and you wanted to talk about day 3 of our scheduled retreat.
Yeah, and so a couple of things. One is today we're going to talk about day 3 of the retreat that's coming up, like you said, within 4 weeks. And on Tuesday, we'll do an hour-long virtual workshop on Zoom. And this is, if you're registered in the retreat, it's free for you. We always offer, and Sarah and I are going to be doing 10 of these over the year. So every month except for July and August. So these are 1 hours of practices solo or as a couple, using the techniques that we use to deepen intimacy. And intimacy is about all kinds of things. And I will repeat this often. It's used as a shorthand for our sexuality, or about this thing that we call sex, but it's a lot more. I mean, sex is only part of how we show up in life, and the things that we teach are about being more fully present, so that when the places to become vulnerable are there, we're ready to do that, or we're confident to do that, or at least willing to try it out. So I hope you can join us on Tuesday. Sarah's got a special code for anybody if you want to join for $11. Regular is $111 for the hour. We've also got a rate for if you want to sign up for the 10 for the year. And if you're in one of our retreats or workshops, it's no charge. So I know we've got somebody signed up already for Tuesday who's in the retreats. And I just want to say that if you do sign up for the online virtual workshops and then you decide afterward to come to the retreat, we'll deduct whatever you pay towards that cost.
Totally. Yeah, and on Tuesday we'll be doing mostly, correct me if I'm wrong, Kundalini yoga and then some Tantra practices.
Yeah.
Plus I love adding singing because it just seems to be, well, it's a very feminine thing, but it's just like super resonant in my life right now.
Cool. And like lots of the stuff that we're doing, it really flows from how Sarah and I how the energy feels between us, and also what you bring. So just like today, we're going to start with some things, but if you've got questions and you want to take it somewhere, then we'll do a little dance here.
Yeah, we can see your comments. Hi, everyone. I did want to say before we jump into the schedule, though, Hans, like I've been reflecting on how much I've been appreciating these conversations and how much it like has helped me watch myself in my relationship and notice how the stuff we talk about resonates and how I can interact differently with my husband. Like this week, instead of being resentful about him being working so much because it's a need in our life, I was able to soften into my feminine on the couch and actually share that like I miss you. That's where I'm coming from, not the resentful part of like, why are you? Well, I know why he is, but you know, like being upset about it. So, and then he could soften and be like, oh, yeah, me too.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I see a lot of people talking about needs, and I'm always, when it comes to me, I'm really careful about, is this something I need or is it something I want?
Mm-hmm.
And most of the time, the things I have that I need are often things I can look after myself, but I want somebody else to do them for me because I'm looking for some kind of a feeling of validation. On my side, on the masculine side, it's often like a validation or a, can't you see how hard I'm working? Or can't you see how fucking amazing I am? You know, and when I recognize that, then I'm less likely to get down on whoever I'm wanting that from. And one of the things with the woman I love is just this practice that I have of every time I put something out there is to actually say or to be really explicit that there's no expectations around this, and then to check in with myself like, wow, like is that true? Like, do I really not have an expectation here? And what would it be like if I didn't?
I think for me, just reflecting a similar, but like the needs wants thing for especially the mom. Like I need connection, and I want that from my partner. So when he's really busy, sometimes I seek for it in other moms and playgroups and stuff. But there's a need for me to connect with him, and so that's also nice to really recognize and appreciate.
Absolutely. And I mean, in terms of how I think about this stuff, in terms of polarities that I also have, you know, I would call that's a feminine need to be held, to feel like the energy isn't just flowing out, it's flowing within a space that I can feel nurtured. And, you know, if I want that from the one I love, it's often experienced as a demand, and it doesn't allow the flow to go. So I need to, again, one of my needs is to be really aware of what I'm asking for, where that comes from, and how do I, like you talked about softening into something, how I would describe that as softening into the complaint so that it becomes a place of, obviously, like there's some pain there. There's like I'm hurting, and then recognizing that I want connection. And lots of times, I know when that's come to me, I felt that as well. I felt the rejection of who I am in that moment. I felt the judgment. I felt the pushing away. But as soon as there's been that softening, then it's like, oh, like I want to be that. I want to be holding that space. I want to be feeling you, and I miss you too. And I didn't even know that until you expressed that. And I think that's one of the, I often think about my beloved as both the siren, the one who's like saying and doing things that kind of open me up in a disruptive way, but there's also the oracle that's showing me my way, but in a much softer way that if it was directly said, sometimes I don't get it, but when I hear her express and the way you did it, like I miss you, it's like, wow, like that's in me too. And if I just allow myself to feel that, then there's no complaint, there's no judgment, there's just this, oh, that's where I want to be.
Well, let's talk about the Sunday.
So I don't know how many of you are signed up for our retreat. There's a number of you, and I'm not familiar with you. I think you are more familiar with them than I am, Sarah. So if you haven't looked at what we're doing in day 1 and day 2, it's posted on Sarah's Instagram, and I encourage you to look at it. And these are general kinds of outlines of what we want to do. Sunday, we're building on what's happened in the 2 days before. Now, I talked a little bit about, on the Saturday morning, the day 2 morning, that I want to get together with the men in a coffee shop setting, partly because I want to demystify or normalize just that we as men can get together and talk about stuff beyond hockey and the job over coffee. I'm curious about what kinds of things you'll be doing with the women, Sarah.
Well, to be honest, one of my favorite practices lately, it's something I learned from Kimberly Ann Johnson in person, which I'm very honored I was able to do last summer, is holding the bones. And so I might actually teach this to the couples as well. But it's so nourishing for women to hold women. And so we'll probably do some just dropping into our bodies. Like I was sharing our retreat in a bunch of pages today, and I was reflecting on how we're going to be doing a lot of nonverbal work. Like we'll be doing a lot of talking, sure, but I think our focus is way more of like, how do we connect physically, emotionally, spiritually, maybe even without talking. And so I'll bring in those practices, and then in the women's circles we'll talk. We will talk, and we will talk about like kind of why we're doing these things and how it relates to our relationships, and then on the last day, how we're going to move that forward. What are we going to take to our relationship? How are we going to show up with all the tools that we've learned to support and invite and soften?
Okay, yeah, I like that. With the men, one of the things that I'm really interested in is just what we'll have done in the previous 2 days, how that's starting to show up in their bodies. So what does that mean? So like, are they starting to have aches? Are they starting to feel exhausted? Are they charged? Are they, just what's happening in their shoulders and in their gut and in their hips, and try to, yes, using words, but also bring them back to like, there's something happening in your body, because yes, we'll be doing a lot of nonverbal work, and lots of times for us as guys, we don't have, we go into our heads, but our capacity to actually talk about what's happening in our bodies or what's happening in our relationships is really limited. Part of that is culture. We don't grow up paying a lot of attention to our feelings or our bodies or how they hurt or how they feel, even feel pleasure. And so we don't have much of a vocabulary of that, and we often come into adulthood and middle adulthood or later adulthood and just are still struggling to, like, I don't even know what I'm feeling. I don't know what this thing on my neck or my forehead, like I know I've got a headache or I know I've got tension, but what else is going on? So I'm hoping that by the morning of day 3, we'll have stirred up enough stuff that these guys are going to be feeling it and wanting to try to put some words to that.
That sounds awesome.
And I just want to say, you know, I keep forgetting this. It actually came up in a conversation, the podcast I did with Kimberly Ann Johnson. That was through a connection with you, so thank you for that. But she was very explicit about, you know, she doesn't know what happens for men. Like what do we experience? And I think most of us guys forget that we're terra incognito to the women in our lives, just as you are, you know, the unknown territory to us. And before we jump to conclusions or have expectations, to go back to what I was saying earlier, it's just really good practice to slow down and ask questions of ourselves as much as of you, like, you know, why am I feeling uncomfortable? What are the words that I might use right now? And if I use them, is that an opening to deepening, or is that a way of shutting it down? I think that's the big one for me these days is, you know, like, how am I opening? How am I closing? How am I wanting to protect myself? How am I willing to experience something new? So the things that we'll be doing, and the things that we'll be doing on Tuesday with the Kundalini yoga, which has been described as the yoga of awareness. It, you know, a lot of it is doing practices and then, okay, what's happening now? Like, how is my body feeling? How am I feeling? Where does this lead? Where does it sit in my body? And I think that lays a nice opening for the kinds of things that you're going to be doing with us. I don't know the specifics of the kind of practices you'll be leading us into either on Tuesday or at the retreat. But my job, or, you know, what I see is to really help the men to experience more, and then also to hold space. So not in a passive way, but in an active, you know, front of body fully open, belly open, heart open. Okay, bring it on. I can actually feel all this stuff. I can feel everything that my body brings to me, and I can feel everything that your body brings to me, at least for these few minutes of our practice, and experience you in a deeper way, and myself in a deeper way. So the kind of practices that I'm going to be bringing on Tuesday, but also to the retreat, are really focused on that. So after our Kundalini yoga practice, we'll have a Tantra practice that Sarah will lead. She's leading some kind of a practice right now, you know, which is a practice of patience and juggling.
Yeah, and a practice of leading and following, depending on who's the leader and who's the followers.
Well, that's a really, may I jump in here?
Totally.
Okay, so being with kids is a really good example of, for me, what Argentine tango is about, or how I teach it, or how I dance it, which is, you as the mom are always in the lead masculine kind of role, but the way that you make the dance beautiful with the child is by following the follow. So this is like an axiom of leadership in tango is you lead by following the follow. Where does the follow want, where does their body want to go? How do I hold, not only hold the space, but then shape the space so that they feel the fullest freedom or and safety to be that. So I think when we're in that beautiful flow of parenting, that's what's happening. It's like the kids feel super safe, they have a sense of boundary, and then they fill that. And we get to just really feel good, and that to me is when I'm dancing tango or when I'm teaching tango, I describe that that's the ultimate kind of masculine pleasure is to witness and experience through the feminine. And right now it's the child is in that feminine flow and the mother is in the masculine leadership role.
Yeah, I resonate so much with that. Oops.
Hi there.
And it's on, honey. You just can't hear it. I like that we're going to be ending, not fully ending the day on Sunday with the tango practices, but like we'll have been learning all of these principles, and then you'll take us through a more formal tango practice the last day where we can actually, yes, you see it. We can really work on these principles and put them into practice before our closing circle.
Yeah, we're just going to touch on this because tango's deep. It's super deep, but it's part of it for me is like we want to learn how to play with each other. So one of my teachers talks about tussle. Actually, a couple of them, but that's because John Weiland is a student of David Data's, and so it comes from David Data. This idea of tussle. So, I don't like what she's saying or doing. So what do I do? Do I collapse and kind of get all self-important and hurt about it, or do I kind of see this as a place to engage on another level? And I think tango can be that place of like playing with each other's energy, where I don't know what's always coming from the follow. But I do know that it's how we're going to make that little bit of art that we have together. And I really think our relationships can be that kind of place where, to go back to how we started talking, like the complaint that you feel, which is real, that discomfort, that need that's coming out as a complaint, even if you don't soften into, as you expressed it, this beautiful kind of place that just feels so good and allows me to open, if I'm paying attention, I can feel into your complaint and know that that's the direction towards rather than away from, if this is going to, because there's an opportunity for something to blossom here. So yeah, there's a lot there, and in our whatever we've got, an hour or two with tango, we're going to try to touch on some of that, and then we're going to do a closing circle, and I'm really interested to, I'm not expecting you to reveal what that's going to look like now, but I'm curious if you've got thoughts about what that's going to look like. It's going to look like that?
Annabelle, that's a lot. No, it probably won't be a lot of that. It'll probably be, I was thinking, because I'll have flowers earlier in the week for this beautiful mandala project we'll be doing. And I really like ceremony. Whoops. And ceremony and ritual. And so, I know you're going to be inviting the men to maybe do something on the closing ceremony.
Yeah.
And maybe flowers will be involved with that. or maybe the women will have a complimentary practice with flowers. So
Cool.
yeah, we're not going to reveal much, but and then we'll definitely integrate, like we'll go over everything we learned, not everything, but like, you know, the Coles note, what everyone's taking away and how we can support each other going forward. And part of the support is our monthly Zoom calls,
Yeah.
because there's going to be, I don't know when we've scheduled the one in February, so there might be one right after the retreat, which will be nice.
Yeah.
And then every month going forward to like keep the practices going, to keep that connection alive. And then like you're offering for the men to get together, maybe the women to get together. I see you. And we'll just see what has opened up in the weekend. So it's exciting.
Yeah, it is. Hi. Okay, well, you have somebody who wants your attention.
She's very busy.
Very busy. Yeah, very busy. So if anybody who's watching this or has watched it has questions of us, please direct message us. We're doing something on Tuesday together on Zoom, an hour-long virtual workshop, the retreat.
And we'll have a discount for the retreat at the virtual workshop. So do show up if you're interested in that.
Cool. Okay. And our workshop is in 4 weeks, a little less than 4 weeks now. And there still are a couple of spots. So
yeah.
It's likewise, Sarah, to go back to your opening comments, that was very generous. And I really enjoy these conversations too. I look forward to them. And
thank you.
See you on Tuesday.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.